So in Belgium, there's these monks, right? And they're making beer, and they love to make this beer, and it's to them like this really awesome, like I guess a profession, but this thing that they do with like love, and it's like an art almost to them. And they sell this beer, and this beer they sell helps to fund their monasteries like operations for the next year. And they call this beer Trappist beer, and it's primarily in Belgium, I think. And this stuff's all pretty quaint and pretty nice, and low key. But then all of a sudden, the age of the internet happens, and this thing blows up, and they find out these Trappist beers in Belgium are amongst the best beers in the world, and this whole thing becomes a huge deal. And as a part of it becoming a huge deal, the game Heaven and Ale is made. So in this game, you're playing as those Trappist monks, and you are making beer, and that's really cool. And I'm going to tell you what I think about this game right after this gameplay, right now.
Hey, I'm going to do this a little differently. I'm going to actually unpack everything from the box so you guys get a sense of this game from start to finish here. So we have these. This is really cool. Look at that art. Really neat. These are our player boards. So everybody's got a player board that they start off with, okay? And there's, 4 of these in there. Just your standard quality, what player boards have become. Then there's a main board. And the main board's where about half the game happens at. So I'm going to frame this up like this. You wouldn't play the game like this, but I'm framing it up like that. There are these purple discs. These purple discs mark actions. So that's one of the options you're going to have as you move around the board to take these purple discs. And I'm just going to set up part of the track here so that you can get just a sense of the game. There's 2 phases of these goods kind of things. They're noted which phase they are by the color of the back there, or the number on the back there. So these are all 2s, and I'd put these on there. And this spot here with the person on there, not the bag of goods there, that's actually going to be a monk. So I'm going to introduce those in a second. But these are the goods that would pop out. There's also water, and so these are the things that could happen. And then I am going to pull out some monks here, and we'll take a look at those. They're still in the box here. Actually, they're mixed in here with these. So I've got to really dump these guys out to get these monks out at the bottom. So there's monks as well. And these monks are really cool too. So all these components I'm showing you, they don't mean a lot to you yet, I'm sure. But we'll get to the game here in a second. So you all get your set of equipment there too that you get set up the game. So in there you have some cards. These cards are kind of cool. They're really thick. Like you think there's 2 cards there. They're just super thick. But there's 3 bills or 3, whatever the currency in this game is, on the one side. Then on the other side, there's a benefit you get. And the way how you get to use these cards is at any point on your turn, if you're short on money, you can take like an emergency loan and burn one of these cards and get the $3 out of it. But that's really a bad decision if you can help it, because this card's worth $12 if you utilize it. So how do you utilize the cards? Well, that and a bunch of other stuff we'll get to here in a second. So I also have these in my main bag here. So this is like my main worker, and I'm going to put him on this main board here. And then I have this brewmaster here. The brewmaster is, like pretty important as well. I'm going to put that on this sideboard. And then these goods signify different things. This is rice, I believe. And this guy is water. And this is grains and wood. And finally hops. And so those go over here on this side track. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little on that for you so you can see the player board here. So that side track there, they all start there. And we're going to try and move them up the track here a little bit. So these are going to keep being advanced up the track. And then the way how this game's going to score, let's zoom back out here. The way how this game's going to score is based on where I'm able to finish all those goods on the track at the end of the game. So I want to keep moving those goods up. That's the whole point of the game. To try it ideally, I would get them all up to, here somewhere. And they're all clustered together as close as possible, because what's going to happen is the final thing is my brewmaster here. As he goes up, there's ratios there. So this is a 5-to-1 ratio, a 4-to-1, 3-to-1, and then 2-to-1. And as he gets higher, that means that the ratio I have to use to expend these. So if I have this guy trailing behind, if I'm in the 2-to-1 ratio, that means I move this guy back 2 spots, move him up 1, move this one back 2 spots, move this guy up 1, move this one back 2, move him up 1. Move him back another 2, up 1. And then I maybe would even be able to move everything back up. Probably not quite. But the thing that lags the furthest behind kind of is what we are paying attention to. So you want to cluster things as close as you can. So that's kind of the point of the game. That's how it's going to score. You also can score off these little barrels that are in the game too that kind of go on the main board here. So the barrels have a bunch of different things that you can get. them for if you develop all your land, if you move your brewmaster up enough, if you do things like that, you got to clean these barrels. And there's the big barrel, which is worth 4 VPs. Then there's a smaller barrel that sits on top of it that's worth like a second prize kind of thing, worth a couple of VPs. And then the other thing too the brewmaster does that's really important is as you get them up, there's a multiplier on there. So that means 5 times whatever I have my ingredients up to. So this would be a really good score if I could get up to that. That'd be, like an insane amount. That would get 75 points or something crazy like that. Just from that board, and then plus whatever other VPs I would get. So how do I get the stuff? How do I get those moving up the track? That's kind of the big pressing question now, right? So what's going to happen is this is kind of like the movement that you see in a lot of board games where you can go forwards but never backwards, like Agizia, like Takedo. But like Takedo has this kind of thing where like the last player goes next, gets turn order. This one's not that way. You just keep going in clockwise order. But, I took the first player marker here, so I would go first. There's also some other benefits you can get as you finish your lap. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say I'm first player, and I'm going to go. So I can choose any of these spots. I could go all the way around. If I had this whole board filled, so if I were going to do a complete setup, I would fill every one of these spots up, and they would be filled all the way around. And so if I wanted to, I could go clear over to this other side of the board here. Let's say that there was, some rice over here, and there was another purple thing over there, and I wanted to get out away from everybody else. I could get some space and go there and get whatever benefit it would have in there. That one doesn't make any sense because there's no benefit there. But if I go here, I take this tile. So I get the tile that I stopped on, and then the other people get to move and do whatever else as well. So there's a benefit to going fast and jumping out ahead because you get better choice on things. But if you go slow, you might get more things. So that's kind of the way I think about it, is go slow, get more, go fast, get better choices. But then what happens is once you get these tiles, there's a number on them, and then they are a product. This is hops at a 4. So on my player board, there's 2 tones here. The one's the sun side, the other's the shade side. If I place something in the sunny side, I have to pay double its value in money, but then that's going to produce that good. So every time I activate one of these little fields here, by surrounding it with tiles, I'm going to get double its value in goods. Okay? The shady side, I just pay whatever it says on there, but then I get money instead of goods. So I get 4 money from that one. So let's do a hypothetical here on what this would look like when it's all finished. This would be, some of this, and we also got some water. This is actually a nice little setup I'm getting here. And man, that'd be amazing if I had all these 5s on there, because that would just really, and later in the game, just do something really great for me. And then let's say I do have a monk here. And just for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to put another tile here and another tile here. So let's say that I finish this. I put this tile down last, and it completes this circle here. Reminds me a little bit of Unearth, where you complete those patterns. Well, then what I get to do is I get to put down like a little estate kind of thing, which I found in these bags here. On my player guide here, it says what's the value of the tiles that are laying around it. If it's a 0 to 7 sum, so if I added up all the value of the tiles around it and it was 0 to 7, I would put down one certain tile that moves my brewmaster 6, but it doesn't pay out any goods. If I have an 8 to an 11, it would move the brewmaster 3, but then I get a payout on 1 good. The 12 to 17, I get 2 payouts. The brewmaster moves 1. 18 to 23, I get to move them up 3, or I get them 3 goods, move the brewmaster 1. And if I get 24 plus, I get to pay out on 4 goods. So on this one, I think I'm really high here. I'm really high. I'm at 15, 19, 20, 24, I think, right? So the 24. So at 24 plus, I'm going to get the 4 payout goods. So I put one of these 4 payout guys in there, and I get to choose which 4 I want to have payout. That's what those arrows are showing me. Well, here's where things get kind of neat. This monk, when I activate him, he's like a worker in the fields. And so when I activate him, he goes to work and he starts harvesting everything around him. So he would harvest 5 wheat when he activates, and he would harvest 4 hops and 1 hop and 1 wood. Even though those aren't adjacent to this work tile here, he would harvest everything around him. So I want to try and activate him as many times as I can. And that was a really strategic placement for him, because then as I fill in this one over here, so let's say I fill this guy in with some more cheap stuff, but I get to activate that monk again, because that monk now is adjacent to this little cluster here. And I'm going to guess that's like somewhere in the 2 value. Let's do it. People will complain if I don't add it up. So it's a 12. So let's see if I was right. 12 gets this tile right here. Hey, my intuition was right. So I activate him again, and he activates everything again. But I only get to activate 2 things that are opposite each other. So the arrows show me that. So I'm going to activate this one and this one. Okay. So he activates, does his work. Then I also collect 3 on this. And that's just, I'm moving up on this track on the light side. Okay. I might have said something a little wrong because the dark side over here, this is where I get my money. So when I activated this cloister here that I got 4, let's say I activated the monk, this 4, this 5, and this 5. The monk's going to get me primarily money. He's getting me money for these in the dark side. So I'd get $6, $7 off that. Then I would get 4 on my hops track. So I move that up, 4 spots, plus another 5 on my hops track, plus 5 water. I'm just kind of doing this quick here. 5 wheat, and just moving up on that track. And so it's just a game of balancing, but then I'm going to need money to plant more stuff. So I need more money as well. So it's a kind of game of balancing what you're going to do, where you're going to put stuff at, also balancing how fast you want to make your movements happen. Pretty unique mechanisms in this. I haven't seen a lot of these mechanisms around. One last thing I do want to mention, we talked about these purple discs earlier. These purple discs, when you take that action, this one says, place your purple disc on this X here. So that's this spot. Well, you can only use these actions each once here. And this one's very unique because there's only one spot where that works at. I place it there. That X means any colored good, but the same number, you activate all of them on your board. All of them. So the later you can use this in the game, the better it's going to be, really. So I'm going to say I want to activate all my 5s. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 5s. So all those 5s would get activated when I took that action. Another action I could take would be up here, and that's activate any type of good. So let's say I wanted to, activate a type of good after I did that first move there. I want to go ahead and do a second one. This one I took that action. I activate my hops because I have a lot of hops. So I'd activate all my hops. I get money for these still and some goods for that. So I'd go up on that, get some money. Another one I can do is I can activate all my monks of a certain kind. So if I have a few monks of a certain kind, then they would all activate when I placed a purple chit on there, and that's this spot. Then this spot that says A, B, and C over here on the far side, that's basically saying you can do any of those actions with that chit. So with that disc, there's 3 of those, three actions. They're A, B, and C. Those are really powerful and really important to utilize at the right time as well. The final spot I think I need to talk about is the cellar. When you go to the cellar, that lets you claim a barrel. That I don't really have the barrels out right now. Those are basically in-game achievements that you can get at certain times in the game that are going to just give you some help. That's about it for gameplay. It's pretty unique, pretty cool, but I'm going to give you some more thoughts about it now.
So does that simulate what it's like to be a Trappist? Probably not. It's pretty abstracted, honestly, but it's awesome. This game's really good. I love this game. It's just a great game. It really is. Why is it great? I can't tell you exactly why it's great. I mean, when I looked at the box, I resisted buying this game for a long time. My co-host Jason on the Board Game Mechanics, we do a podcast, we do a bunch of videos here. He usually knows what kind of games I'm going to like. And he said, man, I think you're really going to like this one. He played it before me. I got a chance to play it and I was like, yeah, it's really good. You were right. So good job, Jason. You were right on this one. Anyway, this game is awesome, and I can't explain exactly why, but I'm going to try, okay? So this game is one of those games, definitely, where the sum of the parts is way better than the individual pieces, okay? So all those different tracks that you're moving up on those ingredients and how they kind of average out with that ratio, that scoring is awesome. It's really cool. And then the Brewmaster, who's like this super powerful track that makes all the rest of the tracks more effective or less effective or score more or whatever. Too important to ignore, okay? Very important. And then the tile placement. Am I going to go sunny side or am I going to go shady side? Am I going to try and get some cash? Am I going to try and get some materials to move my tracks up? Oh man. And then where do I put my monks at? And when do I activate those actions? And when do I take those actions on the side there? Do I wait? Because I'm going to have a lot more 5s out there and I can get a lot more stuff. But if I wait too long, the game's going to be over and I can't count on getting those purple chits like later in the game. So there's just so much tension and so many different choices in there. And the way how all this stuff goes together and the way how all this stuff just not even harmonizes, the way how it all just kind of just clicks and works together. It makes this just really beautiful game. And so that all those tracks, all those things, the tile placement, it's all been done other places. Agesia, you can't move backwards. You're going down the river. To Kaido, no going backwards, only going forward. Heaven and Ale, no going backwards, only going forward. But it works in this game, and it works in those games, and it's not new, but it feels new in this game almost. And then having to balance a bunch of different tracks and trying to balance all this stuff together without getting anything too far ahead and letting anything trail too far behind. That's not new either. Tons of games have these tracks like that. And then like maybe the Brewmaster with the scoring stuff is new. Not really. I mean, like there's games that have that too. And tile placement, like laying a cluster of tiles to try and encapsulate something. I've seen that in Unearthed. And there's how many tile laying games? Suburbia, all these games, you lay tiles that exchange and interact with each other. So all these things are not new, but the way how they're packaged together makes this game great. And the way how they all play together, if you look at the back of this box and you see kind of boring tiles, I don't know, looks okay. That's what I thought for a long time. And I'm telling you, I'm excited about this game. It's in my top 5 games that I just want to get on the table and play. I just want to play this game. I want to play it. I want to play it. I want to play it. So it's a very good game. I'm calling this a 2018 game. I'm not sure. I think it technically is a 2017 game, but I haven't seen it around much. And I think it was not super available in the States until 2018. At this point, it's definitely in my top 10 for 2018. It's a very good game. Eggertspiel doesn't put out bad stuff. I mean, this is just another in the long line of great Euro games that they put out. So Heaven and Ale, great game. Really love it. Really enjoy it. I suggest it to almost anybody. I would say 3/4 of people out there would really enjoy having this one and put it in their collection. If you're into heavier, not even heavier, medium weight games, it's just as unique. It isn't going to be overlapped by a lot of other games. It feels fresh and new, and that's not something we can say real often in the world of board games. So Heaven and Ale, I certainly think it's great. I certainly think it's board game mechanics accepted. I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5 wrenches, which translates to a 9 out of 10 on Board Game Geek. And that's where I'm going to land it at on Board Game Geek as well. 9 out of 10. I think it's an excellent game. And at this point, I'm going to tell you a little pro tip. If I review something, I don't have time to review bad games right now. So if I'm reviewing something, it's good. Okay. It's good. And this game is just good. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Enough to take time out to make a review for it. If you like this review, or if you liked, I don't know, board game stuff and you wanted more noise, check out our YouTube channel or our podcast at bgmechanics.com, or right here is where the YouTube stuff's at. You're going to get a chance here in a minute to have a really cool opportunity to have, okay, maybe not cool, but YouTube's going to go into your cookies and say, hey, what videos do you like? And then it's going to say, here's one from the Board Game Mechanics you might like too. So you might be able to click on a video here coming up, or there's going to be a round little icon thing that's going to say, hey, subscribe to the Board Game Mechanics. So if you like this, you think we're cool, you want to check out more of our stuff, or maybe you don't think we're cool, check out Jason. He's very different from me. He reviews very different games from me. Check out Jason's stuff, my co-host on the podcast. I think we balance each other well. So I don't know. I think we're worth a shot. Give us a try. All right. So I put the plug at the bottom this time. You can thank me for that later. Anyway, I hope you like Heaven and Ale. I hope you find a way to play it. And I would even say if you take a risk on it and pick it up, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. So Board Game Mechanics approved, accepted, whatever we say on it, 4.5 out of 5 wrenches. All right. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. And man, really, it'd be cool if you did subscribe or check out the podcast or whatever. So thank you very much. Have a good night, afternoon, whatever time of day it is, and keep gaming.